Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of the SSCAIT report. My name is Chobo Swaggins, aka Jealous from Team Liquid, and first and foremost, I want to thank Nightcat for covering for me last week. Going forward, we should be resuming our alternating schedule of broadcasts. Today we'll be covering recommended replays from the SSCAIT Discord server, the link for which you can find in the description below. We will have both AI vs AI games from SSC, AIT, and Basil, and possibly a game from the StarCraft Human and AI League, aka Schnail. Without further ado, let's hop right into it. Here we have Krasio spawning in the top left as the red Terran on Jade, and we have Corona spawning in the top right as the brown Zerg. I believe the name Corona, by the way, predates the coronavirus, just want to make that clear. Although it would be very appropriate for a Zerg to have the name Corona. I feel like, they spread creep everywhere, they expand more than any other race in general. So with that note being said there, let's look at the openings. We have both players seeming to open quite standard. We have Krasio placing a supply depot. We know that Krasio likes to play a little bit defensive in all of the matchups so far that we've seen. One thing to know is that higher level players generally place the depot like somewhere around here. That way you prevent links from running around your middle line. The barracks could have potentially been more far forward, and in fact you could have justified potentially trying to take the natural in this situation. But in this matchup, contains are less common than they are in some of the other matchups, where Dragoons or Siege Tanks or Vultures can make it incredibly difficult to poke up this ramp. In fact, I feel like if there is an aggressive contain option, it would be for the Terran against the Zerg in this situation. Let's speed it up a little bit here. The Zerg behind this is going for an in-base 12 hatch, which is absolutely not standard. Something you very rarely see, and it almost telegraphs the fact that it's going to be a Zergling heavy play. We have the SCV coming in from Krasio, and it is going to find out the fact that there is a second hatchery coming up in the main base. No second gas as of yet. That kind of makes it... yeah, there we go. There's a second gas, and there's a third hatchery as well. It's most likely going to be heavy Zergling play from one base here for Corona with a late speed, potentially. Sorry about that, I had to burp. In response to this, we see Krasio throwing down a bunker at the front. I do think that having the bunker on the high ground is the better play. It's certainly better than being stuck on the low ground for so long, but with only 2 Marines inside this bunker and 1 Vulture just on the way, I wonder how the Lings will try to engage with this. There is a possibility of a run by here, even without speed, but it doesn't seem to be the case here. The Vulture is now positioned very well here to anticipate any Zerglings coming in. The scouting SCV gets picked off, the Vulture is going to come forward and is going to force Corona to run away. Corona perhaps realizing the fact that the Vulture can do patrol micro to avoid damage almost indefinitely here. We can take a look at this dance as we see here. Yep, and the Vulture actually taking a couple of hits now, and it looks like it might get trapped by the additional Zerglings coming in, but no, there are still significant losses. The cost effectiveness of this Vulture is much greater in AI games than it would be in human games. Humans would obviously necessarily have to, I can barely keep up with it, would necessarily have, I can't even click it. There we go, kind of. Yeah, it finally goes down. Humans would necessarily have to pay attention to that Vulture in order to micro it so well, and that takes attention away from other things. But now we have a bust attempt coming in from Corona, actually, following that, what looked to be a poor trade from Corona initially, is actually amounting to quite a lot. And even with 2 Vultures and a bunker here, the Zerglings are doing quite a number on the base that we see here. I said quite a number as in the expression, but I want to say damage too. So anyway, Zerglings are running in here. They are doing some damage. They're definitely forcing a lot of idle time. Doesn't seem like a lot of SCVs or Vultures are going to go down in behind this. And the Zerglings coming in piecemeal now are not going to be much of a threat to this bunker. However, it should be noted that Krasio still ahead in the worker count after all that. And there doesn't seem to be any intention of teching further from Corona, who is no longer mining gas, not on the natural either. Zerglings are coming back to this familiar position, but the Vulture count has grown tremendously since the initial bust attempt. And now the patrol micro could be even deadlier as the Vultures can start one-shotting these Zerglings. Again, I speed up right before I have to start chasing some of the fastest units in the game. Couldn't keep up there. And yeah, that bust attempt almost worked for Corona, it seems like, but the prioritization to take down the SCVs was just not there. It seems like the micro from Krasio with this Vulture control has been phenomenal here. Let me just double check to make sure. Yeah, there is Zergling speed upgrade, of course. Vulture sneakily going around the third is going to draw the attention of all those Zerglings. Zerglings take down the Vultures again. And now there's just not that much units for Krasio, perhaps playing super safe. Only one factory up. Looks like this was supposed to be a second factory on the way, but it hasn't completed yet. Some SCVs are going down now, actually quite a significant number now that I'm looking at it. Back to 23 workers, 22 workers is Krasio, and the factory looks like it got canceled or denied, perhaps even. Judging from the mineral account, it could have been denied easily. +1 is on the way now for is it finished? Sorry, the open BW sometimes, yeah, there we go, it just finished. +1 is complete. It's not going to impact the engagements too greatly, and actually the worker count is starting to even out in favor of Krasio still, but Corona is itching closer and closer and closer, and with 11 workers, the amount of Zerglings that he can produce is much greater than the amount of army that Krasio can produce off of one factory. Even with the fantastic micro that we've seen with the Vultures, the Zerglings should still be in an advantageous position here, much more advantageous than a couple of minutes ago before the bust. And honestly, this is one of those scenarios where you can tell that it's two AI playing. Besides the fact that there was inhuman Vulture micro, inhuman sniping of SCVs, the fact that neither player deviated from their path is kind of indicative of the fact that there is a kind of logic that has to be followed. So Corona is just making Zerglings and is very good at engaging with these Zerglings, clearly making some great decisions. In this case, perhaps a little bit late to target the bunker. But Krasio not really reacting to the fact that it's just been pure Marines, pure Zerglings this whole time. Even having the engineering base floating inside the main base of Corona should have confirmed the fact that there was no intention of doing anything but Zerglings. In that case, it does make sense to load in some fire bats into the bunker, maybe add to the SimCity and the choke point on Jade, and perhaps focus more on the production of army, you know, going full Vulture and not being so aggressive with them, but being defensive, because if Zerg doesn't bust you, you win. You're on two bases against the one base Zerg, you're going to end up winning, but in this case, that does not seem to be the outcome here. Looks like Corona is going to take this one with a great bust against Krasio, and that was actually the reason why this replay was recommended in the SSCAIT Discord. I believe it was indeed recommended by Krasio as well as the next game that we're going to watch. And it's the fact that Corona has been having some fantastic success with these brute force Zergling busts, and perhaps part of the reason why it's winning is because it is such an off-meta approach to the game. And that's kind of what we like to see here in the AI scene, or at least I personally, that's what draws me to the AI scene, is kind of like, what if you had 1000 APM and your decision making was somehow limited, let's say, in some ways limited. But of course I shouldn't talk too big of a game. I've lost many games to all of these AI, so maybe I'm overestimating myself. But either way, we have Ideas spawning at the 12 o'clock of destination here as the Red Terran, also known as Saida. This is an unofficial reworking, I guess you could say, or not really reworking, it's an unofficial clone of Saida. And in the bottom we have Corona, who is at the 6 o'clock position on destination here, again as the green Zerg. And I kind of spoiled it in the last game. The question is, how are we going to see Corona bust in this map, which is actually a little bit, I would say, more difficult to bust through. The fact that there's two small bridges here, the fact that it is a high ground ramp that you have to make your way up towards. And Ideas, of course, is known to be a very strong AI, last being updated a couple years ago, I believe, possibly 2019, I want to say. It was developed by Korean developers. I believe it was sponsored by Samsung. It worked in conjunction with Best, aka the pro gamer, who had one of the craziest Protosses in the game. We're seeing a very similar build here from Corona from last game. We're seeing the gas come up at the same time as the third hatchery, basically. Zerglings being made are going to start chasing down that SCV Possibly going to block it off at the ramp. Nope, opting instead to send those two Zerglings forward, and the SV does get it caught eventually, and it's going to be pure Zergling production from here on out with 11 workers. And behind this, Adias is trying to expand, actually, going with a Vulture opening of its own, very similar to Krasio, but is going to be hard-pressed to find a win against the insistence of Krona. Every hit that the Vulture takes, it seems like a good trade against a Zergling. And in normal TVZ, that would be indeed the case because of the fact that Zergs in general want to conserve Larva, go droning. They want to tech up to Muta or Lurker, but in this case, we're seeing a Zerg that is committing entirely to Zerglings, and as a result, every Vulture that goes down is more, I would say it's quote-unquote a mistake from the AI. The AI should, in theory, have fantastic micro and be able to deny this, but now we see the bust attempt coming in. Again, targeting the SCVs. I definitely misspoke in the first game when I said that not a lot of SCVs went down, because we saw quite a few SCVs go down early on in this engagement. The Vulture does get picked off. It's interesting still to me the fact that the bunker is not being targeted all that much, but the fact that the bunker is being targeted even a little seems to be glitching out these SCVs to some extent. Of course, the attacks contributing to that as well, and actually quite a number of SCVs have already gone down. This is more damage than I expected to see, and all of those Zerglings seem like they were been made out of iron. They took so many hits from this bunker. It's possibly due to the fact that there's maybe 1 or 2 Marines in here, which definitely significantly lowers the amount of damage output that a bunker provides. It does not work like a cannon does, or a sunken colony where it has consistent damage, where you need just a worker to build it. It is heavily dependent on the amount of Marines inside, and we see now that Adias is indeed loading up more Marines into the bunker. Some SCVs are idling around the bunker at the same time as well, perhaps getting ready to repair, but it doesn't seem to be the focus of Krona in these engagements. I don't know why that keeps happening to me. I'm sorry about that. As you see, it's focusing on the SCVs and not on the bunker, and the bunker is still struggling to take down these SCVs rapidly enough. The bunker is going to go down now that there's no SCV targets in the natural. One of them is going to get chased down now. It seems the natural might actually go down here. Let's take a look. Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 3. Blech. Yep, there we go. Goliaths are now coming out, and more SCVs are being pulled. The SCVs are actually making the Goliath not engage that well. There should be repairs on this Goliath, to be honest with you. The SCVs fighting by themselves is not going to produce great results, and yeah, I mean, just this pure Zergling play is cleaning out Adias right now, and at least part of it has to be contributed to the fact that it focuses on workers so heavily when there are more what you might call apparent targets for Adias. Like, Adias assumes that the bunker is going to get taken down, so it sends SCVs forward, the SCVs get taken down instead, and that leads to a consistent hemorrhaging of economy, constant idle time with workers, and constant gains from Coronas, who is going to take this next game as well. We can take a look at how the main base is going to get taken down slowly but surely. I'm not sure if Saida has a give up mechanic, and it doesn't seem to have that. It's going to take some time possibly for Corona to figure out what to do about this engineering ban, and actually it does so. Now is going for that layer. That's something that's very interesting for me to see. It's kind of like, alright, I've already won the game. Now the only way that I need to win the game is to make at least one Mutalisk, and then I really win the game. That seems to be the logic here, and it is correct. You can't fault it for it. I am going to take a sip of water. Alright, we see the layer coming up now, and to be fair, on this map, the layer is the correct choice. I do believe that you can't reach any building over here with Hydralisks over here. You'd absolutely have to have that spire coming up, and that's what we're seeing here. I'm going to speed it up a little bit more because we all know what's going to happen next. It looks like it's going to be that spire coming up, and it seems kind of, OpenPW seems kind of choppy to me, but maybe it's because Corona has 84,000 APM right now, controlling every Zergling individually, most likely to attack this engineering bay, which is not available to be attacked on the ground by Zerglings. Mutalisk is finally coming out now. They're going to clean this up, I'm sure, in very short time, the Mulisks fly directly towards the engineering bay. I'm going to quit out of this game as soon as I see the Mulisk ping, and there we go. Yeah, there's not much that Adidas can do here, obviously, and the game is going to be over with 91,000 APM for Corona. Easy win, easy life. GG. Next game, we have Kangaroo Bot against Kazobot, and I still hear from that previous game. I'm going to pause it. That would have been the smarter choice. Anyway, so we have Kangaroo Bot spawning as the Zerg in the bottom left of Fighting Spirit here, the white Zerg. And the reason why we're starting off slow is because Kangaroo Bot makes a decision very early in this replay that is what I would call unique. Now, look at the drones. Generally, you would want to send like maybe one here, one here, one here, one here. Split your drones and start mining happily. But instead, what is going to happen is the very first drone, the very first command that Kangaroo Bot sends is to send this drone out forward. And Kangaroo Bot, by the way, is a very wild and interesting, I believe, random bot on the basal ladder. The AI should have the quote-unquote speed to send all the drones exactly where they need to go immediately, but no, we're sending just one drone out first, and now the other drones are going in there. The Overlord's not going to help scout at all, even though I'm pretty sure that if it goes here, by the time that the drone gets to these bases on the minimap, this Overlord will have confirmed this position for the Terran as well. The first drone scout is not going to find its opponent here and is going to keep scouting. It's a very oddball tactic, and I should introduce the other AI that is in this match. We have the blue Terran Kazobot in the bottom right. Also scouting quite early. Early scouting is something that we commonly see. And ooh, interesting choice from Kangaroo Bot is going to do that end scouting. It's kind of like a diagonal after the first one. Generally, you do it first and then you do kind of like a crisscross. But in this case, this is going to pay off. SCVs are pulled to chase down the drone, but I don't think the drone is that much of a threat at this point. And behind this, Kangaroo Bot not really adding all that much, just going straight up workers. So the early scout, I guess, more or less confirmed the fact that it might be safe to go for a hatchery first build, seeing the fact that it's a one racks play. This drone is actually going to get picked off by these SCVs here. Marines coming out of the barracks, bunker coming down at the front of the ramp. Very defensive play from Kazobot, something that can definitely lose hard to an economic oriented play even after the very early scout from Kangaroo Bot. But Kangaroo Bot following up with a spawning pull into a gas stack generally speaks towards a 2.5 or 2 hatch Mutalisk, and it's actually going to be 2 gas on 2 bases. Very interesting stuff here. I don't think that the economy is there to support 2 gases. That's 6 drones out of 12 potentially being pulled into the gases. Hopefully more drones are going to be coming out shortly, but behind this you have to remember that Kazobot with the barracks is going to be producing army. Even if that army is going temporarily into that bunker, that is army that can attack and harass Kangaroo Bot. Kangaroo Bot, aware of this, is adding colonies here. Interesting placement for this back one. Generally in ZVT you would see something like this, which or maybe like a concave, which takes advantage of the fact that most of the Terran aggression will come from the ground, more likely than not. Zerglings now being made as well, perhaps to verify the number and amount and timing of attacks coming out of Kazobot. Number, of course, I mean like number of Marines coming out. This Marine is going to get picked off on its way out, and there's already a Marine, a fire bat, a medic, 2 medics actually. This is the correct play. I mean, obviously going fire bat first is probably not ideal. Generally you want to go medic first to gain that energy, but because of the fact that we have Kangaroo Bot in this game, we already know this is going to be a wild game to begin with. Kangaroo Bot is one of the fan favorites in the SSCAIT community, I want to say. Always doing something weird and unexpected. So in this case, it is indeed going to be 2 hatch layer. The SCV freely confirming this information, despite the fact that there's Zerglings in the natural and in the main base that could take down this SCV. SCV still on yellow health. Zerglings coming forward now. It looks like maybe there's going to be another bus attempt, but with this amount of fire bats and Marines and medics, yeah, I was about to say I don't think that there's any chance, but the one way that you could possibly throw this is due to BW pathing. Look at this medic and this Marine moving out away from the army. One Marine again being sent out possibly to confirm the presence of a third base. Expansion coming up for Kazobot as well. But already the layer is done. The Spire and the Hydralisk down off of 2 bases, 2 hatcheries. But keep in mind, it did go for that early gas. Wait, what just happened? Okay, sorry about that. I think I put my elbow on the spacebar button or something. Anyway, we are seeing an Evo chamber in the middle line. Is that double Evo, Spire, Hatchery? I'm sorry, Hydralisk then? That is interesting. I'm actually not sure if this actually helps mining or hurts it. It looks like maybe it hurts a little bit. There was a bust attempt at the front, of course, with a tank. By the way, the tank was within sunken range, which helps Kangaroo bot hold here. Had only a couple Hydralisks, not taking advantage of that layer take. I don't know what's wrong with my mouse today. Maybe it's because I have been on vacation, haven't cast in a while. Layer tech. In the meantime, Kazobot going with the forward racks, Kangaroo bot taking their third here as well, bringing over the gas in order to make a sacrifice to the Boudoir gods and protect this third base. Marines and medics coming out shortly. Another barracks here, it looks like. Yeah, another barracks here, and possibly positioning itself to take that third base soonish. We have 3 hatcheries. We have Mutalisks coming out now in addition to the Hydralisks. A commit and a lurker tech as well. This is just the kitchen sink approach, I guess, a little bit from both players actually, considering the fact that there's medics, marines, fire bats, and siege tanks for the Tyrant player here. And is there a starport? No. Is there upgrades spinning on a de-engineering bay? No. So one important factor for Terran success is to be ahead in upgrades against the Zerg for at least the early to mid game. It doesn't seem to be the case here, as there are 2 evolution chambers here. Let's take a look at the upgrades. You have +1 armor now coming in, +1 attack already in for both players, interestingly enough. Hydra Lurk seems to be the play now. We did hear some Mutalisks dying, but it's going to be a tough hold here against this army, given the fact that there are siege tanks. Even if they're not sieging, just the medics themselves being able to assist the marines, even in such low numbers, to tank so heavily. And all the drones go down in Kangaroo bot's base. It looks like this Muta Hydra play off of 2 bases with 1500 gas floating was not the play that I intended it to be. However, Kazobot behind this is not going to engage. Is actually just going to back up. I think it could have possibly ventured up the ramp and tried to finish the game off, but now the Mutalisks are going to come in from this side, the Lurkers are going to come in from this side. Scan does go down and take them out. More Lurkers coming up on the way. Mutalisks over here are going to start taking out army and infrastructure piecemeal. The Mutalisk count has climbed to a significant enough number where Marines and single file being sent is not going to be enough. Wraiths now coming out as well. Lurkers coming out this way. This is very aggressive from Kangaroo bot, but it looks like Kazobot may hold as long as these Mutalisks are addressed. Repairing SCVs are being sent to the depots. It seems like everything is going smoothly here. Marines are not going to be able to take down the Mutalisks here. The siege tanks are coming forward still as well. It seems like Kazobot wants to maintain that aggression. But looking at the army now, 16 Mutalisks are out, and 16 Mutalisks could take down the majority of the army that I see available. Okay, I stand corrected. This is a lot of stuff from the Terran. It's going to come down to control here from both players. Mutalisks seem perfectly content to split up and to engage in situations where they know they're going to die. But it seems like both bots are a little bit hesitant to do the right thing, and sometimes a little bit late on reacting to the engagements that they're in. Behind this, Kazobot has taken 4 bases, and the Mutalisk count continues to rise. I mean, we're up to 22 Mutalisks with a large enough ball. It's almost like no amount of Marines can stop them. Marines, of course, do fire at range, but the Muta ball, in theory, has great potential for DPS over an area. So let's see this engagement against the Marines here. The Marines, as promised, go down quickly. Is there any air upgrades here? No, it does not look like it. There are Tyrant upgrades. Oh my, what the hell is going on? God damn it. How do I stop this? How do I unselect all this? Hold up. Why did this happen to me? Alright, I guess we're doing this. This is what we're doing now. I'm sorry. This is the way it has to be. I click select all at once, and now I can't do anything about it. I pressed A. That didn't help. I'm sorry. Nope. Looks like Valkyries, Mutalisks. hate when stuff happens when on computers, which you don't. I'm casting people who program like ridiculous AI for Brood War, and I can't even operate a browser properly. It's such a joke. I instead of playing Brood War for all those years, I should have definitely been learning how to code and learning how to troubleshoot computers. Like I can't even select like a smaller amount of whatever this is of Brood War. Like I can't. There's nothing that I seem to be. Oh, double clicking apparently works. Sorry about that. So anyway, back to the game. You know what? Let's back it up a little bit since we skipped a little. No, I think it's pretty clear what happened. The Valkyries came in. They brutalized the Mutalisks. Wow, ensnare on the army, but the Mutalisks can't stand up against the air force of the Terran. The Terran is going to clear up Kangaroo bot. This replay was recommended to us by Nightcap, by the way, the other commentator. I imagine that he left it for me to commentate because, I guess, too humble to think that his recommendations were worth it. But Kangaroo bot does fall to Kazobot in this game after some interesting back and forth and an interesting insight into some of the faults of some of the lower to mid-range AIs that we can witness, you know, going back to that initial drone split. And of course the faults that you can see in terms of humans who operate stuff and might click on select all somehow and not be able to click out of it. So you'll have to forgive me for that. Next game we have Dragon spawning in the top right as the White Terran. Top right of Jade yet again, and the bottom left we have Cowenbot. Yeah, Cowenbot. I know what a Cowen is, but like Koan, I've never heard of Cowan. Cowenbot. Cowenbot as the orange there in the bottom left. Cross map TVT on Jade with a really early scout from Cowenbot. This is the scout time that you would use normally for like a BBS potentially. BBS of course standing for barracks supply depot. You build 2 barracks and a supply depot in the middle of the map, and then you use that to aggress against your opponent. It works in TVT a little bit better than in some matchups, I think, largely because of the fact that the expectation is that both Terrans will tech to factory tech as soon as possible, or after an expansion for some sort. Oh, what the? Yeah, alright, so Dragon reacts first there to that little high five and tango dance from the 2 SCVs. Dragon looks to be going for a gas and barracks, very standard stuff. Meanwhile, for Cowenbot, the gas is quite delayed. It does look to be a 2 barracks opening, but from inside the main base and late, there is a very tight timing window for any potential aggression that could happen here as the factory is starting to come up for Dragon. I don't see that this window is going to stay open for very long. SCV is firmly aware of everything that is going on inside the base of Dragon. I'm not sure that the SCV from Dragon can say the same. I don't recall seeing it inside the main base of Cowenbot, and Cowenbot is going for a 3rd barracks behind this. Meanwhile, Dragon Eversafe is going for a very early academy behind this, adding that ComSat station for scan. You have to feel that this delays the expansion and delays the aggressive options that Dragon can have, but Cowenbot losing their first Marine to the 4 from Dragon. Dragon perhaps reacting, because 4 is a large number of 5 even to make in a TVT, so perhaps it is aware of the fact that it is going to be a 2 racks. 1 racks production should be enough to buy time for the siege tank to come out, but I think I almost would have liked to see a Vulture instead. Nice concave engages from both players here, and Cowenbot's going to come out ahead on this with some very low Marine HP, but the siege tank is out now. The expansion is getting denied temporarily. Let's look at the minerals here to see if it gets cancelled or lost. Looks like it got lost. No cancel from Dragon, but with the Vulture out now, with the fast firing speed and the fact that the grenades do, I think, 20 damage to a Marine, certainly looks like it. They are going to go down very quickly, even with medic support, and the medics themselves can get picked off quite easily in 3 shots, I believe. Yeah, it does seem to be the case. But, I mean, the pressure is still going. The Vulture goes down. There is now siege tanks and Marines here. The medic goes down. Marines coming in 1 by 1 should not be enough to take down the siege up position here, but once there is a significant enough number, the DPS could be enough to run in there and take down these siege tanks. Again, I still feel that Vultures may have been the better choice, but at the same time, should be noted that Marine Medic in high numbers actually out DPS the Vultures. You can't patrol micro back and forth. The Vultures die very fast to the Marine Medics, and with a high number of medics, there is actually a possibility of requiring an extra shot from the Vultures to kill the Marines. So that also hampers the ability of the mech to push back, and this is working. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I mean, there's so much that is being contested in terms of my knowledge of Brood War here today, and this is something that should, in theory, never work. You know, you go 3 racks off of one base, and we might actually be on way more racks now. Yeah, we're on way more racks now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 racks off of one base from Cowenbot is going to take down the meta, quote-unquote, meta playing Dragon, one of the strongest AI in the scene, who has strong M&M of their own, by the way. Is going to take them down while they're going for mech, for going factory expand. And I mean, props to Cowenbot. This is something that you would never see in human versus human play. So again, it's a treat to see this approach. If only the Marine Medic could engage here, I think that the Siege Tank might actually prompt them to engage here, and now they're going to run in and take down the rest of the economy here from Dragon. This is going to spell disaster for Dragon here. And yeah, I believe that that is now officially GG. Dragon, one of the best Terran AIs in the game, is going to go down here. And yeah, congratulations to Cowenbot. I am going to quickly mark off the fact that I am going to cast at least the next game, because that's how we do. Alright, so, excuse me. Top left, we have we have Banana Brain spawning as the yellow Protoss, and the bottom right we have Schnail as the purple Terran. This is from the Schnail ladder, the StarCraft Human and AI ladder. As I mentioned before, you can find the links to that website and the service and the server and the ability to play against many of these AI in the description below. Here we are seeing a practice game. The reason we know it's a practice game is because in the ladder environment, the AI have anonymized names, so we would not know that it's Banana Brain, but in this case we do indeed know that it is Banana Brain, who is sending out an early scout coming from the top left of Circuit Breakers, where they are the yellow Protoss. Bottom right, I think I already did this actually. Bottom right, we have Schnail as the purple Terran. This is what happens when you cast on your replay, and this is still indeed Circuit Breakers. Human is opening with a barracks into gas, very standard play. Meanwhile, behind this Banana Brain is going Nexus first, very greedy, but cross map makes it even stronger than it normally would be. Less investment has to be put into defending this against any form of aggression from the human player. The human player is going to send out their scouting SCV quite late. Looks like it's an after gas SCV, and they're going to wall off with the Rax Fac wall here. That late SCV scout, which I can't even see on the minimap, there it is not going to find. Stop bringing up that menu, jeez. Is not going to find the AI until way late, until the Nexus has already been up and running. And with 2 gateways up now, Cybernetics on the way, there's not much pressure that the human can put onto the AI player. Factory is now up. It looks like it's going to be a Vulture first opening, which is an interesting choice. But it actually might fare quite decently against the double Zealot opening from Banana Brain. Sometimes when you confirm that the Terran is going for a factory, you can get away with skipping the Zealots and going straight for Dragoons, but in this case 2 Zealots are made for safety's purpose, it seems like, for Banana Brain. Banana Brain saying that the human saying that Vulture forward very early on. Very nice play from the human player. Is going to find its way inside the main base of Banana Brain, and Banana Brain is going to lose quite a number of probes here. Of course, the faster second Nexus is going to allow it to replace that, but great micro from the human player. 700 APM on the clock here, 400 average before that. And yeah, this seems to be a very strong player. They have established their expansion. They're going to add a bunker at the natural. Looks like mines are done as well. Mines have been placed even in the middle of the map, and now are being placed more aggressively, it seems, closer to the bridges of the AI, preventing them from leaving. One mine per bridge, very, very nice. I would like to see maybe another mine over here. And no, instead it's going to be, yep, nope, there we go. That is probably the optimal mining pattern for this position here for the Terran player. And the Terran player, let's see what they're doing behind this. They added a second factory, they're adding a starport. Starport could easily surprise the opponent in this situation where the observatory is delayed, and Banana Brain in general favoring to go for the gateway man approach of just making a lot of army and pushing through. Probe manages to run right by the vultures there, but this Dragoon army turns into goon soup while stepping onto the perfectly placed mines from the human player. Still hovering at 400 APM. This is definitely a strong player. I might have to believe that this could be someone that is very high level, closer to the pro gamer tier. So far, their play seems strong. I don't know why they decided to take down their own mine here, to be honest with you. Perhaps realizing that they're abusing the AI, so they're trying to take it simple. They are going to load up those 4 vultures into a dropship. Dropship should do a significant amount of damage here. The observatory is not up yet, it seems, but instant reactions from the AI are going to mitigate some of the damage. Mine being placed here. Probes are going down in significant number, but the vultures do go down before taking down way too many of them. Should be noted though that Schnail is earlier to the 3rd base and earlier with the economic advantage. 53 to 48 workers, very solid play. 400 APM still from Schnail. Might be one of the highest level players we've seen on Schnail so far. Walking into mines still is Banana Brain doing the back up and hold patrol micro, it seems like. Siege tank count is not significant really for Schnail after the investment into vultures, mines, and the dropship. SCVs have to be pulled to block the ramp, but that is enough to hold off this position. Looks like the barracks is going to be repaired a little bit as well. I would have maybe liked to see a wall of some sort here. That could help, and the Terran is probably aiming to take this gas down here, as this is a mineral only over here. Observer finally arriving from Banana Brain is going to check out what is going on inside the main base of the Terran player. Terran player's production is looking quite intense right now, actually. Playing very well. Behind this, Banana Brain has finally taken their 3rd base. It doesn't look like they're teching up too quickly. They do have the Templar Archives, but no Stargate as of yet, it seems. Still adding 2 cannons per base despite the lack of necessity of doing so. Here's kind of like that pseudo wall that I was talking about. This makes it easier to force the Protoss into bad engagements. But the Protoss does have a good position on this high ground. It's going to try to poke down here and there little by little. Banana Brain is speed loss trying to run in on top of the siege tanks, but seem to be a little bit undecisive there. They're not going to manage to do much damage. Looks like more dropships are coming in here on the top though. Mines have been laid preemptively. Is it going to get cleaned up? The tanks are going to be saved. Great pickup from Schnail. Doesn't seem to be like that too much damage was done, especially considering the fact that distraction doesn't really work on AI with 16,000 APM. But the human player is fighting valiantly here. The supply difference has finally shifted in favor of Banana Brain, but not before the worker count was equalized. How should I rephrase that? Schnail reached the optimal worker count before Banana Brain did, arriving at 74 workers before Banana Brain's 73. Looks like observers are continuing to keep tabs on everything, and Banana Brain's famous Reavers are on the way, as well as an Arbiter Tribunal as well. I think that the Arbiter Tribunal might take the Terran player by surprise, but at the same time the Terran player is doing significant amounts of damage with run by vultures and dropship tanks. The zealots and dragoons can't engage. All the observers are far forward. This nexus could go down, actually. Looks like the zealots are trying desperately to engage here. The nexus does go down, and that is a huge pickup for Schnail, who actually manages to lose almost next to nothing here. The next nexus comes up for Banana Brain, but this is in prime location to be sieged from the high ground. Vultures could run in and take more probes here, and yeah, the siege mode is going to come in right on time for the probes to go down. It was almost hacker-like game senses here. At the same time, the 4th base is coming up for Schnail. Schnail is going to easily take that at the bottom, at the 6 o'clock base, I think. Vultures coming in here to take down the probes as well. The full army of Banana Brain, now at 200, is coming forward to clear this up, but the Nexus falls yet again. Behind this, Banana Brain did take another base, looks like the 5th or 6th base here, but I don't think it's going to find much luck in trying to bust this position from Schnail. Schnail has a really strong position here. Even with Arbiter Reaver, the control is not going to be enough to bust this fortified position. Science vessel is out already, and the supply now advantage going to Schnail. Schnail sitting on a hefty bank as well, desperate for gas, is looking to push towards that bottom left main, it seems. Banana Brain, perhaps crucially, already has one of the neutral bases in the middle of the map right now for itself. There's no turrets in the natural, there's none in the main base, there's none in the third base, so well, there's one in the third base, there's a couple in the fourth base. It does seem to me like Schnail is at least familiar with AI play to the point where it's not over investing in defensive structures that normally you would want to invest in, perhaps recognizing the fact that Banana Brain is not going to recall anytime soon, and thus a defensive position like this should bring victory to the Terran player. And even as Banana Brain, despite hemorrhaging a few bases early on in these engagements, is going to continue to expand along the top side of the map, is going to continue keeping tabs on its Terran opponent by using these observers. But this is a well-defended Terran, I think, can hold off almost anything that Protoss can throw on it, especially without the abuse of mechanics such as recall. I think it might be quite difficult, but admittedly, this area is kind of wide open. I mean, there are some siege tanks here, but they are shooting uphill as well, it should be noted. With the Reavers, Reavers are not going to be able to do too much here. Stasis on the Vultures actually hampers the aggressive options of the Terran, of the Protoss here, sorry, because the army can't circumnavigate this Stasis army at any point. They can't destroy it either. So this could be a legitimate bloodbath here as the amount of Dragoons continues to fall precipitously. Schnail is significantly ahead in economy. I'm surprised that Banana Brain committed to this engagement. Even without Goliath, a lot of damage being done to this Arbiter as well. And I think that Schnail is going to be very happy with that engagement. I mean, it still has not been able to claim a fourth gas for itself, but it has, however, managed to hold on to the bases it already has. And yeah, Banana Brain is a little bit slow to expand to the other main at the moment. I would have liked to see possibly a try to take the bottom left main as well in order to fully suffocate the Terran player. But the Terran player is now taking a little bit of a risk trying to move out here. Looks like the Terran player is aiming to take this mineral only as kind of like a stepping stone towards the two gases on the left hand side of the map. Goliaths are finally going to come out, might pick off that that Arbiter here. They're giving chase. There are Templar now as well. Templar with Storm could be useful against siege tank clumps. Templar are very low on the priority list, and so they're not attacking units. Therefore, siege tanks will shoot them just about last out of the Protoss army, and therefore they can have the opportunity of getting within that tank range and casting some juicy storms. I mean, like 3 storms here would blanket pretty much the entire army that Terran has here. But Terran continuing to be very siege tank heavy. This is a great composition to have when you're playing defensive turtle style. Possibly getting caught off guard here as it was moving into the high ground. EMPs hitting the Arbiters, it seems. Sorry about that. Storms now coming in conjunction with the Scarabs. And yeah, fantastic storms in conjunction with great Reaver control is going to diminish that tank count actually quite significantly. Looking at Schnail's economy, it's floating a lot. They are floating a lot of minerals, and they even have a significant number of gas, but they just can't keep up with the macro. They've just started a round of Goliaths, Vultures, and siege tanks, but they are 40 supply behind, which is not fatal in Terran's position, but they are losing some ground here, and if these reinforcements get cut off from this base, there is still a significant number of siege tanks here. It was a good call by Schnail to leave them there, but actually it seems like Banana Brain is actually the one that's losing steam here, falling to about less than 100 minerals overall. It looks like Vultures here are actually picking off the probes as they're transferring in, and that must have been a lot of kills here. I saw a lot of probes go down here, and looking at the economy here, 44 workers for Schnail is definitely way lower than 67 from Banana Brain, but Schnail doesn't need all that many SCVs, considering the fact that they're only on 2 bases. They actually have like 5 or 6 SCVs on this gas too. But it looks like this finally does get cleaned up, and this is shaping up to be a really fantastic game. This might be one of the best humans versus AI games I've seen in a long time. A big push coming out of Schnail now, close to max at 190 out of 194 supply. They are they have more supply and more bank than Banana Brain at the moment, and that is a dangerous position to be in. But the faults of humanity here are being evident. You know, the human probably had to go back, make sure that they try to set up a base, and at the same time they can't be pushing at the same speed. Storms coming down yet again. Not that juicy of a storm though, but the great control with Zealots in front of Dragoons, Reavers behind it. Storms yet again hitting the Goliaths. The Goliaths, now that they're out of the picture, the Terran can't do anything about this Arbiter, but the Protoss army has been whittled down yet again. The Protoss supply is still greater than the Terran supply, but look at this macro queue from both players. The human player playing phenomenally here, I think, and they're actually trying to double expand behind this, take those 2 gases that it desperately needs. It's floating 5,000 minerals, but doesn't have enough gas to continue this tank heavy production, and especially all the Goliaths that is lost so far in the past few minutes. In the meantime, we do see Banana Brain has mined out a lot of its side of the map, is now making its way to the right side of the map, but if Terran can get even 40% of the map, I feel like that is at least even with the Protoss, especially considering the fact that a lot of these engagements are not that effective. You know, losing all those Dragoons is so costly. Oh my goodness. I mean, how is the Terran ahead in supply right now after these engagements? With so many Dragoons lost, I would have definitely expected the Terran to be behind, but possibly one of the contributing factors is the fact that the worker count is heavily in favor of Banana Brain. But what good are 70 probes when there's no more minerals to mine? And that is a point that we are steadily approaching here. Of course, this main is quite fresh, so is the natural, but it's way fresher on the other side of the map for Schnail, and Schnail looks to be doing a slow push towards the top right. In the meantime, the response from Banana Brain seems to be trying to push in here. A wall off here from Schnail is going to prove to be quite effective here at slowing down the advancement of these Dragoons and this Reaver. The Reaver's actually not even firing all that much. Repairs on those tanks could do it as well. And look at this abattoir that just happened here. That just happened here. So many Dragoons went down, but now there's no wall off here. Looks like Terran might be put into a dangerous position. This is a great call from Banana Brain, by the way. This is the lifeblood of the Terran economy right now, and again, even though that they were floating 5,000 minerals, now they're only floating 3,500. They did mine some crucial gas and fly up to 800, but again, the supplies down to 35 workers of Schnail. Schnail actually needs to hold on to these SCVs now because it doesn't have enough to saturate 3 bases. This command center might actually burn down. The stasis on these siege tanks, well done here by Banana Brain, but in response we have a counterattack from Schnail. Schnail says, enough of these shenanigans, we're going to go for the throat, we're going to go for the production facilities. But there's so many gateways and they're so spread out here that encroaching is actually a little bit difficult too, because there's so much, I guess, like it's almost like a meat shield that you have to clear before you can get inside the main of the Protoss. And with the tack and with the control that we've seen Banana Brain demonstrate throughout the game, look at these Stacies, look at these Reavers taking down Vultures and Mines, look at them taking down potentially siege tanks as well. It's going to be incredibly difficult to push in here, and with an economy deficit, but at the same time, Schnail is pushing in the top right. Clearly a very strong player. Again, look at the APM here. Not necessarily a demonstration of a strong player all the time, but in conjunction with how this play looks, this Terran player is on top of nearly everything, and just fantastic play all around. Containing on this side, in fact, that might be the focus here. It wasn't intended to take down the infrastructure for Banana Brain. It's intended to shut them in and prevent them from being able to reinforce their last mining bases. These 3 bases were the last mining base for Banana Brain. Banana Brain is down to 0 minerals, and I think that might have just won Schnail the game. This decisive maneuver in response to nearly losing their entire economy, they instead take down the Protoss' entire economy, and in fact they have already pushed up here as well. And wow, fantastic play from this Schnail character. Whoever you are, kudos and props to you for a fantastic game. Thank you so much. Great play, just great play all around. Very solid Terran. This has been a textbook how to dismantle a ridiculous Protoss opponent. And yeah, I think that with this game, I can safely say that we had a fantastic time, and I don't think you can get much better than this. To be honest with you, this is one of the greatest games one of the best human versus AI games I've ever seen or casted. Period. So without further ado, I will tell all y'all to enjoy the rest of your week. if this since you're seeing this on Sunday, presumably, enjoy the rest of September. Enjoy everything. Be happy. Be healthy. And yeah, I'm most likely you will be taken care of by Nightcat next week on the next SSCAIT report. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. This has been Chobo Swaggins, aka Jealous. And yeah, take care.